for years. I used to daydream about all of the things that I would do once I was no longer actively parenting or no longer actively caring for my aging parents or no longer working full time. I knew for a fact that I would read entire books, beginning to end, for pleasure. I knew I would become the most amazing cook, creating elevated dishes with amazing flavor profiles. I knew that I would prioritize strength training and return to practicing yoga on a regular basis and explore some classes about some things that I've been curious about to try something new. All of those goals fit perfectly within a version of myself that I thought I would rediscover in this season of life. And now, 4 months into retirement, I realize it's time for another reset. Because since I stepped away from working full time in January, I'm still prioritizing house projects, making sure I'm a reliable and available caregiver for my grandkids, making sure my husband comes home every night from work to a home cooked meal and not something from DoorDash, which is something we had come quite accustomed to when we were working. But I didn't prioritize the things that I once dreamed of doing when I entered this season of life. Not so much at all. It's not that I'm unhappy in this season of life. This has actually been a beautiful time, a beautiful reset for me. But somewhere along the way, I think a lot of women become so practiced at caring for everyone else that we no longer return to ourselves. If that strikes a chord with you, let's talk about it. Welcome back to The Simple Pleasures. I'm Laurie. I think what has surprised me the most is how easy it is to keep postponing yourself, even after your schedule opens up. I am filling my days with the things that bring me joy. I'm spending a lot more time with my grandchildren when time matters the most. And I'm much more engaged in my community now, like the charity and volunteer work that I do, making a lasagna dinner once a week for a family that could use a little lift. You know, I spent an intense couple of months Swedish death cleaning every area of my home. And I'm so grateful to have done that because it's given me so much peace of mind. For my entire adult life, my days have had a very clear structure, responsibility, deadlines, and people depending on me. And I think that I assumed that once retirement came, I would just naturally drift back to the things that made me feel more like myself. But what I've learned is that it doesn't necessarily happen automatically. Maybe after decades of showing up for everyone else, returning to yourself doesn't come as naturally. Maybe it's something that requires practice. And I still haven't figured it all out yet. Only this week am I starting to contemplate again what I would enjoy doing outside of my caretaker mode. In these past 4 months, I've been pouring into projects and into people and into my community, into nature. But in doing so, I forgot to pour into me. So I set some goals for this week to make time for the things that I've been dreaming about doing for a very long time. You guys, I started and finished a book this week for pleasure. Last fall, a friend of mine loaned me Jen Hatmaker's book, Awake. She knew I admired her, but she didn't know that I never had time to read for pleasure. So that book sat on a shelf for nearly 8 months with all the other books that I hoped I would read someday. And that was the first book that landed in my hands after I set a goal this week to read a book. And it was the universe delivering to me exactly what I needed at this time in my life. That book has a lot of messages for people like us who are not prioritizing our needs. In the author's case, she helped heal herself by spending a month in a city she'd never visited, exploring and trying new things and spending time getting to know the new version of herself. And I thought that sounded like the perfect way to spend my first summer in this season of life. I am calling it my Curious Girl Summer. I'm going to spend each week of the summer trying new things and visiting places I've never been. I just know that it's going to spark new interests or a renewed interest in certain things. I'll be sure to share more about that in the weeks to come. I think that what has surprised me the most is how easy it is to keep putting off yourself, even after the schedule changes. And that changes this week. As for the exercise, we designed an amazing home gym in our basement during the COVID years that I don't spend near enough time in. So this week, I decided to sample several Peloton classes to hopefully awaken my desire to remain fit and active as I age. I'm going to try new instructors and take classes that I've never tried before, hoping to spark a new desire to strength train on a regular basis, at the very least. In the spirit of Curious Girl Summer, I am going to see a movie by myself today. I'm going to see The Devil Wears Prada 2. It's a movie my husband has no desire to see, and I have time, and I decided to just go see a movie by myself. It has been many, many years since I've done that. When I first started working professionally, I was a morning drive on-air radio personality, and I would get off work at noon every day, and I'd have the whole afternoon, and all of my friends were out working. So I saw a lot of movies by myself during that time of my life. Certainly don't want to deprive yourself of something just because you feel like you have to go with someone. So I'm going to rekindle that spirit today and go in and see the movie, and I'll report back afterwards. That movie was just darling. I loved it. It was so nostalgic. I cannot believe it's been 20 years since the original came out. And I felt like the characters just settled right into where they were in 2006. Loved it. Loved the fashion, loved the storyline, loved the acting, loved going to the movies by myself in the middle of the day. Success. For those of you in this season of life, I'm curious to know about your own journeys back to yourself. What did you rediscover? And how did you structure your days to fit all of those things in? And for those of you who are looking forward to this season of life, what are your dreams? And how do you think you're going to spend your days? I love all the motivation and inspiration that you guys provide down in the comments. It's always the highlight of my week. I would say that this was a successful first week of my Curious Girl Summer. I used to think returning to myself would be automatic once my calendar opened up and my days were free to spend however I wanted to spend them, doing whatever it was I wanted to do. Well, in my experience, it didn't exactly happen that way. So now I am building it into my calendar, spending more time and attention on the things that make me feel alive again, just finding my way back to myself, one week at a time. Thanks for being along for the ride, friends. I'll see you in the next one.